I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone here for an open forum?
Sorry?
Please note that this meeting is being recorded by Westborough TV. So the first order of business is the review and approval of the July minutes. Has everyone had a chance to peruse them? Is there a motion to accept? July minutes?
That's it.
Next on the agenda is, oh, yeah, second, yeah, is, are the meetings approved as so noted? Okay. Majority rules. Next on the agenda is our director's report.
So I combined the stats for July and August because we did not have an August meeting. And that cover picture is from when Ferncroft Farm came, they rescued possums. So they did let us hold them. July had an average daily attendance of 54.59 people, 183 volunteer hours, and the Westborough Senior Center had 1,286 total event swipe-ins, and we gave 328 rides on the WRTA bus. August, we had an average daily attendance of 43.94 people, 133.67 volunteer hours were worked, and the Westborough Senior Center had 911 total event swipe-ins, and we also had 328 rides. The next picture is from, we had a program to thank the people that have participated in the volunteer driver program. So the volunteer drivers were invited to come for breakfast, and we also had State Senator Moore and Representative Donahue come and gave them thank you letters from each of their offices, which is really great. The Summer Tuesdays wrapped up well. We got positive feedback about all of them, especially the bingo night. People both liked having Dennis host, but also liked playing bingo. That is definitely something that we heard and will be bringing back. We will try to start making them a more regularly scheduled dinner thing. Our thought is that we could have some sort of like celebrity guest bingo callers, so people from different departments in town, different boards, maybe the select board, will come and call bingo, which is not as easy as you would think, but I think we heard loud and clear that people are looking for that. The WRTA has settled into a good rhythm. We're in month 3 of working with them. Rides are being regularly scheduled, and we are seeing more people using the service. So we do have quite a few residents that are using the service now that were not using it before, and we are also seeing a lot of people going to different locations that we could not have transported them to initially. I think everyone met Jack. Jack was our intern here for the summer. He was really great. So he wrapped up his time 3 weeks ago here in Westborough and headed back to Syracuse University. He is a pretty exceptional young man. He helped out with a variety of things. Mostly what he did was help me make connections in the community with people that he either knew because he is from the town, or he worked to establish those relationships himself. He also participated quite a bit with the Dullmen, and he really enjoyed those meetings, having those conversations, and getting to know the older residents in town. He was just a really spectacular young man.
And
So-
just to add that he was a terrific member of Old Dull Men's Club. It's great to have a young guy like him, and he was very helpful.
Yeah, he was someone that if I said he was interning somewhere else in town, someone knew, everyone knew him and they were like, he helped me with this or he did this for me. Everybody knew him and had some kind of story about how helpful he was, so it was really, we lucked out. It worked out really well that he was the one that ended up helping us out this summer.
Kendra, how do you become an intern before college to help out in town?
So he was already in college. He's going to be a junior. He reached out to the town administrator's office and just said, I'm in town, I'm looking to help out somewhere this summer, and I am kind of interested in everything. And I think the town administrator emailed it to most of the department heads and said, is anybody looking for some extra help? So I said, sure, I'll do that. Previously, when I was in Northborough, I established an internship program and I worked with public health students at Worcester State. And they would oversee some sort of fitness initiative at the senior center, but that was something that I was seeking out those students, so they weren't really looking for us. I was more reaching out to the university and saying, can you send students our way if they're interested in working with older adults? So,
Is that a regular town program? Is it a paid position?
no,
All
he
volunteer,
was just looking to help his community.
We don't have a formal internship program. That's actually a goal for the town manager's office this year when we establish goals with the select board. So there are some situations where particularly college students will do it for credit or it's a course requirement. There may be other situations where there is an opportunity to pay interns. So we're trying to develop something. We had a couple of volunteer interns this summer who were absolutely fantastic. So to the extent that I think we benefit, but equally they benefit. And one of the things we're trying to do is encourage broader knowledge of the municipal world as potential career opportunities. So I think it's a great opportunity for both the town and the students.
So some of the stuff that we have coming up, I might skip around this list a little bit. Some of it is stuff that we're bringing back. We are doing a Take a Ride Through History. It's a guided slideshow about the town of Westborough. I think that there will be a lot of people who are interested in that. We are also, someone has asked today what the Mugwumps are. They're a band that is coming in to perform for us. They play like very untraditional instruments like the washboard and the spoons, and they're a large group that is going to come in and perform. And we watch them on YouTube. They're pretty great. I think it's going to be something a little unusual, something not like people have seen before, but I think it will be very exciting. The Chinese Moon Festival, Tammy Wong and I have found a group of Chinese acrobat performers out of Northeastern University. So they will be coming to perform a lion dance. And before the lion dance, Tammy will be doing an educational talk on what the Moon Festival is. It is also called the Mid-Autumn Festival. And then we will be serving dinner as well. And that is through a grant that I wrote through MCOA for cultural programming. I think it's going to be really great. Tammy has been working hard. Yes, it will be. Yeah. It is a Chinese dinner as decided by Tammy.
Anybody have things stopping?
Tammy is not cooking. We actually found a restaurant that she's going to work with to do some catering. And then we are also doing a Diwali dinner with Leta, who is our Bollywood dance instructor. She's a part of the India Society I think their office is in Shrewsbury, but they're the India Society of Worcester. We will be she teaches young children how to do Bollywood dance, so I think the plan is she will bring some of the kids out to do a dance, and then there will be some education about Diwali, what it means, its history, and some of the clothing that Indian women particularly wear, and textile making and printing. And then there will also be a dinner with that as well, and that is also a part of the same grant. The Halloween celebration, if anyone notices, is on the day of town meeting. It will be over before town meeting starts, and that is done on purpose to encourage the people that come to the Halloween celebration to also attend the town meeting. So we are going to do an early dinner for that, and it will be over before town meeting begins.
The costumes, it's to the meeting.
Yeah, that's on you. You can do whatever. I think there might be some kind of rule about wearing like a mask, but other than that, I think I say go for it. So I also want to mention this summer, if anyone came to the Tuesday night dinners, we had a really helpful group of high school students that were coming out, and that was something that Jack organized by reaching out to National Honor Society. We were all really impressed with the young people that came out. They were all very helpful. They helped, with a variety of things. The first picture is the group of boys trying to learn how to square dance. And then the next one is two of the students that were helping out with the bingo for some of our participants who couldn't hear as well. So that was great. And then in addition to those students, on the bottom, Marilyn is holding up her painting. We had a high school student who came to us to teach a watercolor class as a volunteer. I have never, ever, ever had a program at any senior center I've ever worked at where everybody stops to say, that was really great, can you please do that again? Except for this class that her name was Audrey Todd. We got exceptional feedback about her as a young student. I have mentioned to the superintendent how wonderful she was. She did this class for free as a volunteer, and we will definitely be bringing her back, but we got very positive results working with her.
And Kendra, she brought all the supplies.
Yes, yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
the key
she's-
to bringing people. You don't have to bring your own and pay for it. That's great.
She was really, everybody stopped to tell us how great she was, and she was really a pleasure to work with. She's already said, as long as I'm not at school, whenever you need me, I will be there to help with whatever you need. So we were just really impressed by her. So I just wanted to mention that too.
All right, any other questions for our director?
Hello. Once again, the swipes
Yes.
just here,
Yes.
not,
No, so I have revisited that recently, and it would be around $5,000 to come up with the same setup that we have here. And there's not an easy way to have a less expensive alternative.
the handhelds.
And I have not found a way to get the handhelds to talk with our system here without individually going through and adding everyone that uses the handhelds to the system. I don't know if there's further sort of like a software thing that I could learn about. I haven't had a chance to dive into it any more than that, but
I think it's pretty important or
yeah,
whatever to know how many people are actually going.
and it's
That's a
difficult.
big,
Yeah, it looks like it went down, but we had, I think, 3 classes from July to August go to the community center. So the number probably didn't go down, it's just the number in here is less because those people are going to the community center now.
And we're missing that count.
Right.
We'll keep at it. If the my senior center isn't viable, we might be able to piggyback on the My Rec and then share that data, or at a minimum come up with an alternative. It wouldn't necessarily feed into my senior center and come out, but if we have to track it separately, I think
Yeah, I'm
It'll be worth it.
still trying to find a solution.
May I ask a question? How was the bus tracking done before the WRTA?
They had those small hand trackers that Paula was asking for, but without going through, like the bus drivers would come back here every day and report them back to the computer. So without doing that sort of class by class by class every day, we don't have enough of them to assign to each individual class. So
The
like,
one for the building,
but yeah, that wouldn't tell us who was participating in what. It would just tell us that people went in. We would need a separate scanner per class, which we don't have.
I thought they just used a QR code, and that's how they scanned it.
It's a
And that
barcode.
told them what it was.
No,
right? And then the
there's no
person-
screen, it just buzzes in but if it's at that building, we don't know what class they're participating in is the problem. It just shows that somebody showed up there. It doesn't tell us when or what class they participated in. There's no way to differentiate that.
Let me see. The July programs are good. August programs, even I attended, I had one of the worst meals I've ever eaten in my life. In fact, you couldn't eat it. Hamburger was ice cold, dried out, and at the birthday luncheon, we're only allowed a fork. Couldn't have a knife, couldn't have a spoon. And we were told this. Lady sitting beside me brings her own silverware for that reason. And I am sorry, but I do need a knife to cut
Yeah,
the salad.
I can't imagine that they would have said no if you asked. I mean,
She
Mary
said-
Ellen was in the kitchen the whole time, so I can't, I wasn't there, I was not in the building, but I can't imagine a world in which Mary Ellen doesn't say,
Mary Ellen wasn't out there, it was the girl serving. And she said, well, there are 2 knives there to share.
yeah,
And
I can't even,
didn't go over too well. And as I said, that was the birthday luncheon.
yeah, and I mean, the hamburgers that's unfortunate. No one complained that day, so there's
nobody
nothing.
to complain to, truthfully. We told the young man serving us to please just take them away, that they were unedible.
Okay, yeah, sorry to hear that. We didn't get that feedback from anyone that was there, so there's nothing, yeah, there's nothing we can do now.
Right. But I do think that it was a definite downswing.
I'm sorry that you feel that way.
So I'm just sharing that. I bring my own silverware, that's what it takes.
Yeah, I definitely can't imagine that that would be something that any staff person would say. So I would recommend in the future that you find probably Mary Ellen if it's the birthday lunch. That would be the best bet.
I have a question. Who's the publisher of the flyer?
We are working out the details for the newsletter. This month we printed them ourselves and mailed them out just so that they would get out to people. We do have one identified, but what it takes to sign on is a little bit more than we were anticipating. It's taken a little bit longer.
So it's influx.
Yes, yeah.
We have to follow the procurement law.
Yeah.
And we have to do a formal procurement process.
Mhm.
And the model that we use is a little different than a standard bid getting pricing. It's they use the income or the revenue they receive from the ads to offset the cost. So it's a little more challenging in talking to some of the vendors and telling them this is what we need to do and here's how the process is.
So
we're working on
it going forward until we get.
Yeah, we got creative.
How much longer do you think it'll take?
Part of the issue is we're trying to identify vendors because some vendors have said they're not interested and if they have to go through the bid process, they're not necessarily interested in working with us. So part of this is making sure that we have some vendors who are interested.
So we canceled the other one before we got it. Is that right? No. I
Yeah,
don't understand that.
yes,
Okay.
that one, yes, was never properly procured.
The one that's been doing it for a long time.
So we were required to cancel that,
Yes. Yes.
and it came up for renewal, or?
You can't just renew it, we need to go out to bid. We need to have a properly procured process if we're paying or if we're engaging in a contract with a vendor. Yeah, this meets the threshold. It's a $10,000 threshold and that's the value. It's not necessarily the cost that the town spends, it's the value of the contract because while the town's not directly paying the vendor, they are still receiving revenue from engaging in the newsletter that exceeds that threshold. Yep. So again, it's not a straightforward model, where we're just saying, here, we're gonna pay you. But I think this is part of the reason the model works and we can publish a newsletter is because the town's not having to fully fund it. So bear with us, we're trying to work through it and make sure we're complying with statutory requirements.
I had one question. What's the status of our public position?
Where the position is open and unfilled.
Okay, ongoing. Okay. Any other questions on our director? I don't know if many realize it, but John McCann used to be our liaison to the Westborough supporters in the Senate group. And so that is an open position, and I'm hoping someone on the committee will volunteer to be our liaison to the supporters group. Attend their month. They usually have a monthly meeting. Usually it's the same week as ours. I think they have on Thursday of this week.
What's the expectation?
Pardon?
What's the expectation of the person that would be liaison?
Oh, you kind of keep us up to date on supporters programs and such. It's just a liaison position.
I have too many doctor's appointments right now with new diagnoses. I can't fit in something else into my schedule.
That's okay. I'm just throwing it out.
So the meetings are on Mondays?
You don't have to decide this moment, but I'm just saying that their next meeting is Thursday. At
Usually
1.
on Thursdays.
What time?
1 o'clock.
One Thursday a month.
Well, I'm just offering it out if somebody wants to think about it or. That's another ongoing thing.
I mean, I usually attend the meetings or they update me on what's going on anyway, so if no one attends, I can just ask for any big things that they have coming up. I can put it in my director's
So
report.
it's not a necessary position from.
If it's not filled, we'll find a way to get the information to you guys.
Well, I have to be going Thursday because now I'm managing the Jewel Park Fair again. And number 5. Anyway. Hail Mary. Okay, the next discussion has to do with the bylaws and also the reason why we all received the community handbook that was done by the town of Westborough, adopted by the select board in 2021. So after our last July meeting, we discussed the bylaws. So I started reviewing some of that, and as you know, we all receive packets when we first get sworn in, we have a packet. And one of the first things is, it shows you bylaws, and it refers to an article 87 and 88 beginning. And that is just the creation, this is from 1966. This is from the creation of the Council on Aging in 66. If you notice on, I don't think it has them, but the first article naturally states the creation of the council at the town meeting in 1966. So after our meeting, I was thinking, and then it shows Article 2, 3, 4, and it continues. I get questions about that because if we start changing bylaws, you don't have to go through town meeting. All these articles are part of that town meeting. So I reached out to Kim, and she was gracious enough to answer some of my questions on that. So she went and dug out the 1966 town meeting, as we looked at the Articles 87 and 88, it creates the Council on Aging. But it does not include, articles, the other articles that we refer to as our bylaws. It's only included
Where are those articles in this handbook?
in our original packet that we
Oh,
had.
the original bylaw.
Yes, if you look at that, Article 1 creates the Council on Aging.
Right.
So, and that's we have their purpose. But other articles in here that we have used as our bylaws are not included in that town meeting article. So,
You mean the handbook?
my question was to Kim, I said, all those other articles included in that town meeting vote that created the council? They are not. So somewhere along the line when the council was developed, someone drew up these other articles that to be our bylaws. So that led to the committee handbook that was developed in 21. And so Kim and I discussed various aspects of that too. And she graciously, that's why I had these committee handbooks sent to everyone on the board to start perusing it and discussing as we go along. And so she graciously added this to the meeting minutes for the board, for the council to read. So I did peruse a lot of the committee handbook, and a lot of it is really part of what we have referred to as our bylaws.
But aren't bylaws separate from a handbook?
Well, this was created in 21.
A handbook.
Approved by the select board for all committees/boards in the town. So this is supposed to be a guideline for all committees and boards in the town. And it covers a lot of the aspects that we discussed in our bylaws.
And the committee handbook that was voted forward by the select board would supersede, that's any bylaws that this board has.
But I thought we go by Robert's Rules of Order, which does specify bylaws for organizations.
Yes. But there's no authority for the council to have bylaws. So that they existed in the past and when and how they were approved. I think the point is with the adoption of the committee handbook in 2021, also with some changes in state statute related to open meeting law and some other things, the committee handbook really supersedes the bylaws because there are a number of things in those bylaws that are just out of date.
Yeah, I noticed that.
But the Council on Aging is appointed by the Select Board. The Select Board had the authority to adopt the committee handbook that applies to all boards and committees in the town. So it, again, stepping back, the discussion around updating the bylaws, there are no other boards and committees. The boards and committees do not have bylaws. So with the exception of some other statutory the planning board zoning bylaws, that's a very different type of board or committee. But when you're looking at other boards and committees that are subject to this handbook, they wouldn't have bylaws. So at this point, I think what Diana and I talked about, the recommendation is, or the requirement frankly, is that the council follow the committee handbook. And I think there was, what I recall, one of the specific items that came up that the council, I think, wanted to bring forward for discussion was the size of the council, which would be, I think, a separate discussion. That's not something that the council could change through the adoption of a bylaw. It would actually have to go, we would need to potentially bring that back in a future meeting, discuss, have the discussion, understand the process, which would likely be raising it to the select board that there's an interest in changing the makeup of the council. That's just one example I'm giving that would not, again, at this point, the handbook supersedes the bylaws. So I think it's an idea, if there are questions about the handbook, I think the intention was, I think Diane, you had a couple of questions, we talked through them, but if others have other council members had questions about the handbook, happy to talk through some of those today and or understand if there were specific things in the bylaw that were a question or concern and if those could be addressed outside of that, the bylaws per se.
And what about the running of a meeting? Do we still follow Robert's Rules of Order or
Yes.
not? Is that in here, how to run a meeting?
Yes, yes.
How to run the meetings?
Yes.
Yes, it also covers leadership roles, a whole host of things. But also, it does say in the, here, page 7, that each committee or board can develop their own policies more specifically related to their committee, if needed. So we can adjust things as needed. But it has, as long as it doesn't affect federal and state laws,
Right, can't conflict with the
open
handbook.
laws and all that.
Yeah, as long as it didn't conflict with the handbook.
Right.
If I might add, from what I could see, the handbook is exactly that. It's a guideline for us to go by, but it is a requirement. I mean, what's in there is what we do, but it is general.
But
It
yeah,
is
it is
not-
general,
it
because
is
it's
not
under
totally
committee
specific.
membership and elections, it refers to Article 3 of the town charter, which we don't have copies of. So we still don't know about elections,
But we're
according to
appointed,
this.
we're appointed, we're not elected. So I think you're referring to the elected officials. We're appointed by elected officials.
But we elect our chair. Is that covered
that's-
under here?
and
how
that's
to
what's
elect
right.
a chair?
Leadership roles.
Committee, it discusses the leadership roles of the committees.
And that says how to elect a chair?
It's all under
Yes.
the committee organization section.
Yeah.
So I went through the handbook and compared it to the May 19th, 2019 bylaws. I just went through and tried to compare the articles, what they said, to find the same information in the handbook. And it's nearly all there. I mean, what's missing is the specifics for us. So it talks about, the appointments of a board created by the town board of select board. But it doesn't say, for example, that we're an 11-member committee, because that specifics isn't in there. So there is information that's specific to us that needs to just be captured somewhere.
Yeah.
And from what I can tell, it actually says in, I think, under committee organization there on page 7, that we need to have our Council on Aging webpage that specifies the purpose, the mission of the Council on Aging, all of that stuff that we have here in the bylaws has to go somewhere, and it goes there. If I might just go down, Article 1, like I say, is in the committee organization point of the committee handbook. The membership, Article 4, it's all under, there is a section, pages 5 and 6, committee membership, and that talks to the generalities without, again, the specifics of how many members, what the terms are. That's also missing. And the vacancy appointment, that's another one item thing that I noticed is not addressed in the handbook. But when we have someone leave before their 3-year term is up, there's no discussion on how to handle partial in the handbook. So again, that's a specific for our.
Well, it's applicable for appointed boards and committees when there's a vacancy and it's filled. If we need to put more clarity, and it might be in another area, but the typical process is we advertise the vacancy and that term is.
The process is there. It's just the fact that, again, what we specify here in the past is that if someone were to leave 1 year into their term, the reappointment is only for 2 years. In other words, to
Correct.
finish that term. That specific statement is not in the handbook. I couldn't find it. Article 5 covers the meeting conduct and member resignation and termination. All of that meeting information is covered, how to conduct a meeting by Robert's rules and all of that. under meetings, which is pages 10 to 17 of the handbook. And the removal and resignation of members is covered under committee memberships, pages 5 and 6.
Did you find how to appoint or elect the chair of this committee?
That's
Yes.
under Article
Yes.
6 of our stuff is under the committee organization / leadership roles section of the handbook, page 8. Now, it also covers the duties of the
Yes.
officers, and again, that's one point where we would have to take an exception because they specify, for example, the secretary duties, taking minutes, posting documents, and so forth, and we have a corresponding secretary position, different duties. Article 7, I think it's no longer necessary. Article 7, senior center staffing, we don't need to mention that. Amendment of bylaws and the effective date of administrative stuff. So all of the important stuff, except for some of the specifics that are unique to us, are covered in the handbook. And those specifics, if I read the implication right there at the beginning of the handbook, should be in our
But one of the problems that we had at the last meeting was about having a chair, vice chair, what have you. And this simply says committee shall vote to assign the roles, but our bylaws, according to Robert's Rules of Order, tells you about nominations and when they should be held prior to the meeting and the actual voting, and if someone else wants to be up for the appointment. This is not covered how
It's
to
page
appoint
8.
a chair.
If you read page 8.
I'm looking at page 8,
Roles and
all-
responsibilities.
but where does it say how to actually appoint a chair? All it says is the committee shall vote to assign, but it doesn't say how the election proceeds, which the bylaws do say.
right, but it allows then the chairman to determine that procedure. I think what other.
I think you call back to, as a board or committee, if you're making a decision, it's by a vote. Because if you, under leadership terms, it does talk about that they're filled for a year in the typical process for any public body to make a decision.
So we don't have to have anything to do with nominations in the handbook? How you nominate somebody if more than one person wants the position? That's the purpose of bylaws.
The committee votes to assign.
Yeah, I think it's,
The committee votes to assign.
Yes, but it doesn't address how you nominate someone, especially if more than one person wants the position. That is addressed in the bylaws and in Robert's Rules of Order. So you're saying we don't have to have nominations, there won't be any way to take care
It
of
doesn't-
someone
doesn't
if
say
more
that.
than one person
Doesn't say
wants the
that.
position. That's my question.
right. I think there's a little opportunity there because you have to have a motion and a vote. So the way it has historically worked is either you have, I mean, Guido, you've been through the process a couple of
If I
times, right?
understand the intent of the handbook, what it's doing is leaving it more general so that the chairman can ask for the council's opinion on how to do it. And we follow Robert's rules, which include most of that
Right.
information. That's already indicated as part of the,
So if the chair
of the way of running
says
business.
we're going to be open for nominations, it is up to the chair to say that and decide that?
that's the way I read it.
That's
The
the typical
flexibility
process.
is there. I mean, we're supposed to follow Robert's rules without having to have them rewritten into our own document.
Is that what you?
Yes,
See,
because that's
also-
how at least that's my experience with other boards and committees, use the exact same process is.
And what about, do we not need to establish whether or not there's a quorum at the meeting?
Yes.
You can't be
Yeah.
without a
That's-
Quorum is in
Well,
there.
what is the quorum?
Quorum is
It's
in there.
specified in there.
Where?
And
There's, I forget what page,
It's
but
on
it's
there.
specified. Yeah, it even gives, enumerates it. It says if you
Oh,
have
okay.
a 5-member committee, it's so many, if it's 6-member, up to 11.
So
Page
it's in there.
13.
And we also
Okay,
have
so long as
It's in
it's in there, okay.
Well, it's actually open meeting law dictates what a quorum is, and it's so this is an 11-member committee. A quorum for this committee to meet is 6.
Okay.
We also have to, like, beyond the committee handbook, have to follow state law. So if there's different rules and regulations about how, a nomination or an election would work as far as appointing officers for the board. So that is even beyond what's detailed in the handbook, is what has to be followed.
And also at the bottom of page 8, it talks about leadership terms. So chair can serve 1 year or 2, and could come back maybe a couple years later, be voted in again as chair. So there's a break. It's not,
Right, it's not
if you want for 2
No more
years,
than 2
and then a
years.
break, and if you want the person back, vote again. So it's page 8 addresses that. So to me, it covers a lot of what our bylaws already have. But if we have a couple of items that we want to change a policy, we can do that as a committee. And that's okay, as long as we follow federal and state laws and open
Okay,
meeting laws.
that's fine. I just wanted to be sure that
Yeah.
we all are clear and understand how we're going to run
So
this committee.
So ultimately, the select board recommends that committees adopt this handbook. As far as I know, we never have adopted this handbook. as far as I know.
I've never seen it.
I know, that's why.
Some of us have now, and we need to understand that.
I think Alma
Some of us have
presented it
been on
to
the committee for a long
In,
I understand that.
Have it.
in 2023, the former director acknowledged that there were bylaws that were outdated. And we had the conversation at that time that really the committee handbook supersedes the bylaws, so we did not move forward with updating them. So just for a little bit of history, at this point, I think the idea that the committee handbook is a living, breathing document. If there is at any point any specific feedback, certainly, I think at the beginning, it indicates to reach out to the town manager's office. It is something, as things change, as things evolve, if state statute were to have some new implications, we would want this to reflect that, because ultimately, we do have to comply. I would say the overarching is the open meeting law in terms of how the meeting is run. It establishes the quorum, it establishes what the agenda needs to include, it establishes the production of minutes. So all of that is in the open meeting law, which maybe that's a topic. We regularly do training and presentations on that, so I can certainly let this committee know if there are folks who haven't been through that before. That's certainly a resource. But at this point, I think the committee handbook largely covers the things that need to be covered for the committee to comply.
So my question is always, I only found but 3 or 4 items that are specific to us that are not detailed in the handbook. How do we document those? And I think the answer is somewhere on the website. We should have a couple of items that indicate those specifically, the 11-member board and so forth.
We'll look into that and figure out if what I want to do is understand where the 11 members came from. So the appointments are made by the select board, so we'll back into when it was established as an 11-member committee, and then we can go from there. So it was understanding when, where, and how, and then if there's an interest in changing that at some point, how that would move forward.
The secretary duties, which are different for us.
Right, so I think what it's intended to acknowledge in the absence of, because you have staff supporting that, it falls off. There are some committees that don't have staff support, so a committee member takes that on. So I think the intention is, in the absence of staff to take on that role, it would be the responsibility of the committee.
Well, again, in general, it says it should be these specific duties, but then later, like you say, it also said there are situations where staff doesn't support. I'm just saying, where do we document it for our own, so I'm always asking the question that is our case. our secretary duties are different than the standard.
I think it's documented in one respect that you have an administrative assistant position in the budget, and it's identified as part of those job duties that they support the committee, so, I'm not sure that it needs to be. What I'm trying not to, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but if you're talking about, the bylaws are basically non-existent at this point. It sounds like there's a few things you're trying to make sure that they're
For
documented.
future knowledge,
What are the other items?
I'd like others to also take a
You said you
pass
had
through.
4,
and do
so
that.
there's-
Yeah, I had a couple of items here. So the fact that its appointment is a 3-year term, that it's 11-member board, and that the vacancy reappointment is for the remaining term. Those are one of the items. The secretary versus correspondence secretary, I think that covers pretty much everything. The rest of the stuff is, we have to update the website to have our purpose. Right now, I think we have 2 different sets of wording.
You have under the boards and committees page, there's a council on aging,
Yeah.
so it does exist.
It exists, but I'm just saying the words there seem to be different than what we say here. We should just decide on the final wording.
Well, we don't have a treasurer anymore either,
Yeah,
so that's,
but that's okay. This doesn't require handbook that only has the 3.
but overall, the handbook covers the majority, the guts of the majority of it. So as we go along, we can make some policy changes of our own to fit our community.
Well, that was really my question. We documented exceptions, document that we could have as a council on aging, details, additional info. It's not covered in the handbook. Those items I just mentioned.
But those I don't think the council doesn't have the authority to establish the 3-year term, the 11 members, full vacancy.
Yeah, I'm just trying, where is that document?
That's what I said.
So it's on the website.
We would bring it back so you have a clear understanding.
Vacancies, 2 current vacancies, size 11 members, term length 3 years,
It's all.
under council.
But if we ever want to change that, we have to get approval. We send our request to the select board, and they approve, or not approve, whatever.
So, just so I understand, in July we said we were going to update the bylaws, and the only copy that we could find that was sent to all of us was the 2019 version. So what you're saying is, we're not updating these bylaws because they shouldn't even exist. We have to go by the handbook. I think Guido makes a good case that there's certain things that we can discuss over the course of our meetings that will need to be addressed. And one of them, for example, was we had thought maybe we should just have 9 board members instead of 11. And so in order to do that, if we want to do that, so we basically have to go to the select board and.
But we have to vote on it first.
Well, yes, obviously, but then the select board would say yay or nay. That's how it works.
It's up
Might be
to
a town
them.
meeting vote, actually.
Really? Okay.
If the population of the town is increasing, why would you reduce the number of members of the council board?
Oh, I looked at Northborough, Southborough, Northborough, Southborough.
Westborough is unusually large.
Really?
Yes. Northborough has 9, Southborough has 11, Shrewsbury has 7, and Grafton has 9. So an average of that is 9.
At the moment, we don't have 11, I don't believe.
We do, we have 11, we have two
We have two
open.
open.
We have 2 openings.
Yes,
That's-
yes.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
So,
I meant that we
It
don't
may
have.
be an opportunity for us to rethink that number.
Okay.
So that's what I was,
Otherwise, we would have to put out
Yes.
requests for
Yeah.
volunteers.
and I don't know, has anyone done that?
Yes, it's on the website.
Kim, has anyone done that yet? Put a posting out for going to positions?
Yes.
It's,
It is up through our office.
but that could be something at like a future meeting that could be on the agenda that you're gonna discuss removing 2 of the positions. And then if it was agreed upon here, it would then go to the select board to make the final call.
Okay, well, it's been brought up before, but.
You have to put in an agenda item to discuss it.
Yes, but that's what this cause was, an agenda item. So we could put that, number of members, in our next month's agenda.
So that has to be specifically on the agenda, even though
Yes.
the bylaws, which included that, is on the agenda.
But apparently the agenda has to be a little more specific.
And because we're moving away from the bylaws, that's a future discussion to talk about.
I think there's the main reason why I'm suggesting it be a future agenda item is because there's information that you need to have about who has the authority and some of the history. And I do think in my tenure with the town, there was a previous discussion around changing the size of the council. So I think, to be fair, so everybody is starting from the same point, we need to gather that information and share it so you have it ahead of the discussion.
I have one other question. This is 2021. Is there any plan to regularly review or change the handbook items?
If there is a need to do so, there is right at the beginning, there's a statement about contacting the town manager's office with any concerns or issues related to the handbook. So in part, our office, in supporting the select board, we're watching if there's any major changes at the state level that might have implications for the handbook. We would certainly recommend that the board adopt changes, but we would also take feedback from board and committee members. And to my knowledge, there has not at this point been anything that's been brought forward that's necessitated a change.
Thank you.
Has anyone applied?
So if anyone hasn't had time to review the handbook, maybe they can do it by the next meeting, and if you have any other questions, they can bring it up then.
I just wanted to ask, has anyone applied for the 2 open positions on the board?
Yes. So the applications come through the town manager's office, and we did get a few over the summer for various board and committee openings. We were actually short-staffed in admin and the board also that on a reduced schedule, so we held those for, I just want to look at the agenda for tomorrow night. But we held those, nothing was brought forward for any of the summer meetings of the board.
You have a couple of candidates in the best position.
We had several candidates, but we had multiple positions. I don't know that we have multiple candidates for the council on aging. I'm just trying to pull up the agenda.
Should that be on hold until we decide what we're doing? Or?
No, because at this point you have openings, so.
That's what I was wondering, for right now, we'll continue to go to the 11th. And you can accept whoever applies.
If the select board appoints 2, we have to take that, and we then cannot discuss whether or not we want to change the number.
It's not that you couldn't discuss it, you just would have, the fact that you would have a full committee, you would have to address at what point do you reduce to 9 members.
At what point in the future?
There would be an option to include language, correct me if I'm wrong, saying, add the next time that there's 2 terms that end, we will then reduce to 9.
We could vote it.
Right,
Time
yes,
in the future.
right, if that's how you decide to go about
That
it.
makes sense.
Because I don't know if you recall that a lot of us went to a mass COA conference a couple of years ago in Shrewsbury.
Mhm.
And that question did come up, the number on the council. What was a good number? And that presenter said 9.
Yeah,
So it's been stuck in my brain since then.
I'm glad it's stuck.
So I keep bringing it up, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I will say 9 is I think you said Southborough has the same size. 11 is an unusually large number for a council on aging. There's not a lot of towns that have 11 or more.
And somebody has 7.
Right.
Okay, good discussion. Anything else to add from that? So for next month on the agenda, we'll discuss the number on the council, number of members on council going forward. I do have, do we want to vote on this, adopting this handbook? Or wait till next month until everybody's had a chance to review it?
I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a choice.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
posing the question.
You know
Okay.
what you think?
I agree, it's adopted.
It's there.
And I think we actually did discuss it and adopted it as a council.
Well, I didn't know if
Couple of years
everybody had read
I
it.
thought we did. So that's when we stopped 23. I found my notes. We started the bylaws upgrade in April
Yeah.
of 23. And we were supposed to have a review of it in June, and that never happened.
No.
So I think that's when we probably.
Some of us are newer than that. I wasn't appointed until June of 23, I believe. So I wouldn't have seen them. But I
Okay.
agree that we may as well vote because
Does anyone want to make a motion in that regard?
and move to adopt the Town of Westborough Committee Handbook.
Okay. Second? No. Those in favor?
aye.
Here we go. Okay.
No.
Okay, I didn't see your hand, I was just looking. Okay, so voted.
One other question. We are appointed in June normally,
For
correct?
July 1st.
And we then meet in either July or August. So
Well,
that seems a bit,
well, we didn't meet in August this year, but usually
But
we
we
did
met
meet in July,
July.
so
but our annual meeting,
it's
is
September.
it going to be in September or will it stay in September?
I don't think so. The handbook says it should be so that it starts July 1st.
The annual
With
meeting?
That our term. So the annual meeting is, that term is used in our old bylaws to indicate when we did our elections of officers. And the handbook says that we should do our elections such that they start with, they coincide with the fiscal year of the
Yes.
town, which is July 1st.
Right.
So basically, we have to have our election meeting, rather than an annual meeting, our election meeting in June.
June.
You typically, so for instance, with elected boards, I think the idea is to sort of follow what the elected boards do. Following the election, when the new members take office, you've had turnover in your committee membership, possibly. So that's the meeting at which they vote they reorganize and vote those positions. So I think the idea is if the start of the new term for appointed committees is July 1, that first meeting, when you potentially have your new appointees serving, that's when you would vote to change your organization or your leadership position.
Thank you.
So it'll be June.
July.
I think the appointments go through June. The process is happening in June with the new appointments taking effect July 1. So that,
Yes, but we have to vote on officers.
So yes,
June.
the vote's in June and then July
Yeah.
1st or whenever the
Right.
meeting is after July 1st is the start.
Provided a couple of us were not reappointed yet at the beginning of June. Missed one of the meetings because of emails didn't go through. So some of us, I know I and one other person were not brought up at the meeting until whenever the end of June was that the meeting was held. I don't remember the date, but it wasn't the beginning of June. You get an email request asking if you want to be reappointed.
I think was it May roughly, they send out that email to others being appointed on committees, roughly May, I think.
But I never got it because they had the wrong email.
Ah,
So I was not reappointed when everyone else was. They had to delay it. That's my point.
okay.
Do you
Right.
remember that?
But it was taken care of and you,
By the end of June, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it still has to be July 1st July meeting, not the June meeting.
the appointment expires at the end of June.
Right.
So if if the reappointment hasn't concluded, there's still an opportunity for it to happen. In theory, somebody can't participate in that first meeting in July if their reappointment hasn't gone through. But we typically have, there's usually a few that are missed for a variety of reasons during that first appointment, and then everybody, we get it taken care of so that everybody can serve who wants to continue to serve. And there's also the requirement that people go back to the town clerk's office to be sworn in,
Right,
even if it's a
right.
reappointment, you have to go back to the
Yeah.
town clerk's office.
Okay, we voted on it already, right?
Yes.
So that's good talk. The next part is the open-ended discussion, doing updates. I did have I don't know if you mentioned it, but I did have a couple of events coming up. The town meeting is October 21st, on a Tuesday this time because we have the holiday. We'll have,
It'll be 7 o'clock on the 21st, this town meeting at the high school.
and also our annual fair for the senior center is November 15th. On Saturday.
And that's the senior center supporters, not, we have to differentiate, it's the supporters.
Yes. The Westborough Senior Center supporters are having a fair November 15th. Starts at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. So that's 2 days ago. I have a couple of honorable mentions. First, on behalf of the council, I'd like to thank Linda Birch for her years of dedicated service and serving as a chair for a few years and guiding us through the community center 5,000 meetings. So thank you very much, Linda, and also for your continued participation on the council. Thank you very much. Thank you. Also, I want to thank, on behalf of the council, John McCann, for serving on the council for many years as a dedicated member, as well as serving as a liaison to the Westborough Senior Center Support Group. And also William Lynch, on behalf of the council, I thank you for your service on the council as well. And I believe everyone has seen the cards sent around, everyone has signed. So those cards will be mailed out to them as a formal thank you. That's all I have on that. So,
Since we were just talking about the bylaws, we mentioned Judge McCann. According to my notes, he was the instigator of the bylaws update back in 23, and Linda and I and Alma were part of it, but it was the judge that was spearheading that effort then.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Kim, you have anything else to add to achievements?
I do have one other question. You mentioned the word goals, and you were talking about the goals of the town manager's office. But as it says in the handbook, each committee should have their goals as well. And what I came across in my notes here is the senior center's department goals that found the shared back in 2017, possibly other times too. But my point is, I do think those are created as part of the budgeting process every year. Each department has their goals.
So there would be departmental goals, and then there would be, I guess, goals of the council.
So where I'm going is I don't think we as a council ever did our own annual goals, which is something I think we should consider doing. But I was wondering if this fiscal year's goals, starting July 1st, would have been part of the budgeting process from last fall and the winter, right? So I'm wondering if it would have been done either by Alma or yourself at the time. Is that something that you can share with us?
So the budget document is on the website, so anything I'm pulling it up now. I mean, I think if we want to put a discussion of goal setting, it's probably a future agenda item. As far as the departmental goals, those would be the responsibility of the director, and then council goals, I think we could look at. I know going back to when we did the senior needs assessment, there's a lot in the implementation plan that I think that's a future agenda item, and that would be a good thing to look at in conjunction with setting some goals.
We used to get budget updates, maybe quarterly, on a quarterly basis, just so we get an idea of how our spending is going. And way back when we filmed we did it spread out to like quarterly, and then ultimately nothing.
Right. The council has no financial responsibility, so
And that's why.
yeah, it's not really something that the council would have any sort of hand in.
Okay, I guess we just have to split.
It was an overall expenses where we were.
Yeah, that's not a council on aging matter.
Well, no, circling back on what Vito said, I think it's important for the Council on Aging to have goals. I know I feel like I need to know what our goals are. And I think it's good for us to at least, have items on the agenda for the following month so we can prepare for them. But I think having goals is a good idea. I don't know if we had goals before, but I think that would clarify the roles.
Actually, our main goals are addressed in our mission statement overall. That's the main statement, mission statement.
Okay.
Our goals are really captured in there as an overall goal.
We've always had the concerns that we need to have addressed, and so hopefully they're good.
But are the goals like specific?
That's what's missing.
Yeah.
Let's say, we know what the department goals are. One, either determine if we agree with that,
Yeah.
and secondly, if there's more specific stuff that we as a council can work on separately.
Yeah, I think that the biggest goal for the council right now should really be looking into getting training. I think that there's not a lot of awareness of what the Council on Aging's responsibility to the senior center is. And I think that there might be a history of some less appropriate sort of ways of running a meeting, or not running a meeting, but things that were discussed that aren't necessarily the responsibility of the Council on Aging. I think, you know, finances is the number one thing. That was never the role of the Council on Aging. That wasn't really an appropriate thing to be discussed. I have looked into getting a board training. Unfortunately, the MCOA does not offer that. And I am pretty limited on where else I can turn to sort of send you guys or have someone be brought in. But I would say just as an observer and also someone who's led now, this is the third town's Council on Aging meetings, I think getting some sort of more formal training is probably a really good goal and a really good place for you guys to start.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Kendra, but, so it sounds like we can't go to the MCOA.
They don't have a specific, so what I've asked for is that they try to put together something that's like a specific training that tells you, you know, this is what your responsibility is and like this is what your meetings should roughly look like. They don't have that. So I have been struggling to find sort of where else to sort of send you. I will say that I have reached out to some members on other Council on Aging boards in other towns. That might also be a potential to sort of either have, you know, members or a member sit in on one of their meetings to see what it is that they're discussing and how that's going. So I'm looking into an alternative to MCOA having a formal training. I thought that they would, but they do not.
Who gave that training that was mentioned 2 years ago? Who gave that?
That was the MCOA, but it was basically an administrative type, how to conduct the meeting, not specifically what are the duties of a council on aging.
Yeah, I think it's important for the whole group to have a better understanding. And I think that there's just a couple of things that you guys are looking for that it's not really within your.
Now, I disagree with that.
So,
I think it's a good question to talk about.
Yeah.
We don't have it on the agenda today.
Right.
Sorry, Guido.
Should we put on the agenda disagreement or?
Next time.
No,
No, I think a discussion on goals.
I know.
Okay, we'll make that
Okay,
a
goals.
discussion.
The agenda should include goals of the Council on
The
Aging.
goals.
Yeah,
That will bring.
yeah, discussion on goals.
Although if you look at your original packet when you were sworn in, they gave a oration about responsibilities of the Council on Aging, along with the mission statement. Then they gave us a checklist for COA members, along with an org chart. Well, we can get an org chart, right? Actually, we're allowed to get an org chart.
It's in the budget document.
Okay. And
The staff.
Find it, the budget document, you're right.
It's, if you go on the FY26 budget is on, my battery died, otherwise I would have pulled it up. If you
It's
can
its own
Search
page
for
on the town,
FY26 budget, you should find it.
It's its own page on the town's website.
If you can't,
there's
we don't.
even a behavior policy in the original packet, a behavior policy, which the handbook addresses some of that in there. They talk about being disruptors and all that, and
Again, a lot of that's also covered
Okay.
statutorily, but.
oh, disruptors jumped out at me. Then we even had I'd like to eliminate a couple of the pages in the original packet that's handed out that you and I discussed, new members. They gave a procedure on how to, the transportation process. We don't need that per se in our package.
I don't know what those documents, I'm
Yeah.
not clear.
I think going forward, you would probably get the community handbook.
We need to eliminate some of those pages in that original packet for new members, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So,
I don't think some of
does
them
that
are
have to be an
applicable.
agenda item?
No, because I don't,
They would, so when a new member is sworn in, they would not be getting a copy of the bylaws anymore. They
And
would be
these other
they would,
pages, other pages.
they wouldn't be getting, this would just not, they would get the community handbook.
Okay.
That would be what they would be
Town clerk
presented.
handles that, is it town clerk handles that?
Yes.
I never got the bylaws, just so you know,
so see, I think Guido, you may be right, it goes back to in 2023, there was discussion.
But I had the bylaws in my packet.
You were just
June
before me.
25.
Yeah.
Well, you came after it. I can add it. Yeah.
I was a feeling, yeah, also ran.
For many years, the format of our meeting was entirely different than what we're having now. The chairman sat there, the director sat right there. She had the agenda, and it was entirely different. And that's something I'm sure you ladies are not aware of. We also had COVID-19 that we had to deal with, and the discussions for the new senior center were ongoing for many, I'm sure Kim will back me on that, for many years prior to right now. We tried for quite a while to have an addition put on this building. We took, 3 to 4 years to be allowed to spend the money for a new bus that was given to us, not to the town, but to us. And we could not buy the new bus. So please, try to understand. Some of us were here for that, and we did our level best.
Yes.
That's all I want to stress, is that we did the best that we could do. We did not speak out at meetings the way it is going on now. It just wasn't done. And please understand that.
We did not disagree with any of that, but I think we're allowed to ask questions if we have them. That may not be the way you want to run a meeting, but we
I
have
didn't
our
say
questions
it was
answered.
me. The meetings were run by the director. The chairman sat there, but the meetings were run by the director.
Well, that was then, this is now.
Well,
The chair of the board is the one that runs the meeting, and that's not a me choice, it's a state law choice. So if this is Diane's meeting to run, and if Diane's not here, it's Guido's meeting to run.
It's been a good discussion. I think it's been a good discussion. We had to talk about a lot of things, and it's a good discussion. We have a couple of agenda items for next month. And the next meeting date is on, it's on a holiday. Yes, it's on a holiday. So, it was supposed to be October 13th, but it's a holiday. So is everyone agreeable to having the meeting on the 14th, on the Tuesday, the next day? You can't do it on Tuesday?
But that's okay.
And then we run into the town
Put it
meeting.
on the 6th.
You don't run into it.
Yeah, the town meeting's on Tuesday, not Monday. So you could do it on the 20th as well.
20th, the
Oh,
holiday.
I thought it was
No,
the
the
20th.
13th is the holiday. The 21st is town meeting, but
Yes.
you could have the meeting on the 20th. It would
Is everyone available on the 20th? To have our monthly October meeting?
Sure.
20th? Okay.
Sure.
It's the day before the town meeting.
Yep.
20th. Okay.
The 20th,
Diane, Bertha's got her hand up.
So October 20th.
Diane.
What?
Bertha has her hand up.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to recap items for the agenda for October. And I was wondering, and maybe Kim can tell us, is there anything on this new senior center going to be brought up at the town meeting on the 21st? No. Okay, so.
I think we're in the spring, aren't we?
I asked that same question of Christie yesterday, and that's the answer. As of now, there's not, but there's a possibility that there may be something about the pool. Maybe the bids come in properly, right?
Yes.
So that's the only thing that's possible,
Okay.
but it's nothing definite yet.
Okay, so all agreed, October 20th is the October meeting.
Good.
Okay. Any further discussion? Otherwise, is there a motion to adjourn?
Can we just recap the agenda items just to make sure we're
For next meeting,
Yes,
I have, a number of members on the council,
right,
and I have goals.
right.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Should
Is that
we,
about it?
do you think we should just keep training for the Council on Aging as a regular agenda items or as a reminder or no?
Yeah, I think that goes under the goals discussion, and also even finding someone who could provide a training or,
Yeah.
you know, an organization that could provide something like that as part of the goal.
Maybe at the same time, give us an idea of what you consider training. You know, define that a little more. See, we're into more definitions now. So, okay, motion to adjourn,
Move to adjourn.
Marilyn, Linda. Okay, thank you, so voted. Carry on, see you next month or downtown.
All right.